So just getting done with my first workout after being out for 10 days, and it was difficult. It was something that I know I was kind of dreading just because I don't have the energy and the intensity I did before. Kind of had a game plan, you know, and so that kind of fell apart. So what do? I just pick myself back up and get back on the horse and start riding. And so I got to take it slow. Just like in the very first few weeks, I knew to kind of just take it one day at a time, and that's the boat I'm in right now. So as I kind of go through this last, couple weeks, I just, I know this, and it's something that I've learned over time to just, be patient with the process. And, even if we have breaks in life or take, time away from the gym or, from nutrition, just knowing, that how to restart is really important. And that's kind of what I'm, learning and getting to live this experience, is to kind of start all over from where I was. And hopefully you get to see that, I'm not just like jumping back in at full force. It's not easy. It's something that, takes a lot of self-discipline, mindfulness, just being aware of myself and my state psychologically and spiritually, knowing that, I have a higher goal in this, and to keep focus and to prioritize, my health. And so I'm going to be doing that. And it's going to, tie into a lot of what I talk about, after this week's all said and done with the weigh-in. This is just a preview into, how I'm doing right after, getting through this ailment. This is going to be a multi-part episode just because I have a way I'd like to finish it. I was kind of inspired, say spiritually, to kind of tie into something that's in the highest part, let's say, of what helps me think about balance and what it is. So here, as we kind of wind down with Xform, let's just start it off with a quote.
Whole life have a balance. Everything be better.
And that's Mr. Miyagi, if you've seen Karate Kid. So pretty much that's what I'm doing right now, is just really trying to hit that balance spot. And what Mr. Miyagi didn't talk about is, what is exactly balance? What does that mean? What is it in your world? Well, it's different for everyone, and that's what's difficult about this. When I kind of made this channel about health and fitness and had that direction, I kind of wanted to show that, that not only do you have to learn it, but you have to find a way to balance it in. It just kind of depends. I've talked about that. I don't want to get too much into the nitty-gritty of what I do, because I don't want people to replicate it. It's going to be different. When you're doing this journey, and when you started this at the beginning, where are you at today? How far are you? This is almost 90 days. This is a quarter of a year in. So have you made any changes? Are you seeing any differences? Are you struggling? Are you still asking yourself those questions? Because that's what this is really about. When you're trying to have a better lifestyle, a better life, and a more quality fit life, you need to be thinking about those things. You need to be mindful of them, because if we get too caught up in a routine and just life becomes kind of mundane, you're not going to get the most fulfillment. You have to have some sort of things that, say, drive you, motivate you, inspire you to be better, to live each day a little bit differently. Because as much as it's kind of embedded in our, say, mindset to enjoy, routine, some of us like spontaneous, but then there's some of us that like to be very planned out. And one thing I've learned, especially in my relationship, say my spouse, we're very different, and that actually kind of balances me out from being so extreme and so regimented. Yeah, that's a long conversation, but we'll get to that at the end. And kind of that's been the overall theme here, is Xform is when you want to say you're ready to change your life. You found out ways to, put food and fitness in there. I doubt anybody's really heard every word I've said. Probably skipped ahead, checked in on certain parts, and that's probably good, because I've heard myself speak in editing probably for 1,000 hours. It's what I believe and what is truth to me, and what is going to be helpful, most importantly, to others, because I didn't know a lot of these things. I didn't have anyone mentoring me through this process or guiding me along the way to be healthier and to be, not just in better shape physically, but mind, body, and soul, a combination of those three. So I'm really happy with the way the series came out. There was a lot of divine intervention in it. So the next series that we're going to be on is Xform, and the reason I want to bring it up really quick is because it's the opposite of this. It's the opposite of Xform. It's what everybody thinks health and fitness is. I'd like to kind of explore some, say, editing techniques and some personalities, and just try something a little more entertaining, because as I get close to this, we'll call it marathon of doing content and this finish line, I'd like to make sure that I'm pushing my best at the end, and something I can have a lot more fun with, something that, is enjoyable. That's all I have for right now. This one is to be continued. So I'll see you in the final episode, the actual final episode. going on? It's your boy Coach here, and for today we are in the kitchen, and this is kind of how I stay successful, especially when I say dominate a deficit. I'm the beast in here just because this is what helps me be successful. Is first and foremost is how you flavor your food. So spices are really important, not just because they give flavor, but because there's hardly any calories in most of them anyway. So that's something you have to pay attention to, and something I brought up in other videos. So for today, what we're going to be doing is a number of different, say, dishes. It's kind of intimidating, actually. I have a lot to do, and I don't have time to go through each meal and all the calories, but I just kind of want to show you the setup, that it's important when you start doing this is to build a routine, build something that you're comfortable with, because if this looks like too much, which it probably is for most people, then you're going to want to just start really simple and just start with easy dishes. Start with things that you like. Just take, think about what you enjoy to eat and find ways to make them low in calories. There's tons of recipes out there. So that's really why I don't want to go too deep into some of my recipes, because everybody has their own different flavors, flavor profiles and tastes and stuff like that. So a big one's going to be, let's say, your meat selection. So for me, I have a 96 ground beef here. Bought it a couple days ago. Probably should cook it today, which I will. And versus I have a 93% ground turkey right here. And so like I'm gonna be actually making a cheeseburger out of this. I'm gonna be making some what I call my meatballs with this stuff. So and I could just flip them. It doesn't really matter. And I could cook them on the stovetop. I could bake them. I could grill. A lot of different ways to do it. So what I kind of like to do is break up the cooking method. So to make sure that I'm not baking everything, because then the oven's constantly full. So I kind of want multiple things going at the same time. And that's how I stay a beast in here, is to constantly move, constantly keep things going, and to not stop. And this takes practice. It doesn't happen overnight. As a matter of fact, it took months to get this good. So we got to get started on those. Plus we got a couple easy dishes this week. And you might be thinking, what are you doing? Just eating a raw cucumber. I do a lot of weird things in a deficit because my goal is to be lean. And I'll be showing that a lot in the next series, which is Xform. So if it's something you're interested in, on the little hacks, little tips, little ways that, I like to do it, then stay tuned for that one. These are some chickens, hard to see, just chicken tenderloins. And it's just marinating. Those have been marinating about 4 hours. And I just use this stuff. So we're making a teriyaki chicken. We're just gonna slap those on the griddle for, I think it's like, maybe 3-4 minutes aside, and those are done. Egg whites are huge. You probably already know that. Great source of protein. And what I tend to do is mix those in with egg itself, so to give it kind of yellow color, because this stuff is clear and it's just not as appetizing to me. I like my egg to look kind of yellow, and if you just add one egg to some egg white, to me it kind of gives it the same, almost the same texture, but really the look for sure. So we got a dish going with that, and then these are essential too, is to save on calories. These carb choppers, you've seen these before. Half the calories, fiber, vegetables. So this is one. For me in a deficit, I have to be eating a lot of vegetables because I need the volume. Great source of protein here. Used a lot of this in a lot of my desserts. This is some Greek yogurt. And I got one I'm gonna be doing today, which is super fast. It's like the easiest dish in the world. It's this protein powder, a little bit of some nuts in there and some fruit, and that's it. And it goes together super fast. It's fairly good, it's a more of a dessert sweet dish, but easy to make. As much as all of this looks really intimidating, it's because I've built on it. Week by week I got a little bit better. I didn't start with this many meals at first, but then I had to kind of learn it. So when you're kind of starting off in your kitchen, you're just going to want to kind of see what tools do you have, what are you capable of doing, when are you going to make the time to do this. So that's kind of how I became a beast, is I prioritized it. It was my first priority on Sundays. This is one of the final weeks where I'll be, say, living at balance. And then I have a lot more focus on this, especially when I'm doing a hard cut and a hard deficit. When I run a deficit, this is something that's going to be extremely important, is the tools I'm working with in order to, say, make the dishes or the meals that I like to eat. And I don't feel like I'm suffering, because if I feel like I'm missing out, or I'm being cheated, or I'm just overly hungry, those are things where it's going to be extremely difficult to stay on the path that I'm on. Here's some very important ones for me. This is an air fryer. This is a Ninja Foodie. This is pretty much the Ninja Trinity is what I call it, because this is the three things I primarily use for, say, my adventurous dishes, the ones that are, the ones I really like, the ones that make sure that I don't feel like I'm missing out. So the air fryer is something we're going to use a lot here. This gets in used almost every day. It's fairly expensive, so if you got the budget, you find it on sale, you won't be disappointed, trust me. It does, like, I'll pressure cook rice in here, reheat, you know, pretty much anything. It's just a fantastic tool. You can go look it up, tons of great reviews on it. So kind of in second, what I would say is this one is my blender. So a lot of the smoothies and shakes, I use that a lot, or in some of the baking recipes, you know, if I have to grind everything up really good. This has got the 3 different blades, and this is fairly cheap. I think this was like $60 on sale at Costco, and I think I saw it a few weeks ago at the same price, and I almost bought another one just because, but I already have one at work, so I have 2 of them already, so I don't need a third one. But this is the one that I would say if you have the budget, it's, and let's say this is if you like ice cream specifically, then I would invest in this one. This is a Ninja Creamy, and I bought it on sale at Costco. I think it was about 170 bucks. Seemed like a lot, but to me, I can make very specific versions of ice cream, and they taste like ice cream, and they're high in protein, where they use like cottage cheese, they use Greek yogurt, some, you know, whey powders, collagen, you know, powder. There's a couple different ways to do it, but overall, this gives me the texture of like regular ice cream. And the thing is if you go buy protein ice creams on the shelf, I mean, it's like $5 for these tiny little things, you know? And so to me, this actually saves me money from buying those, the Halos or whatever they are, which in the end, my versions have way more protein. There's a couple different protein ice cream versions you can do in this, but it just doesn't have the same texture. It's okay, but this is better, way better. And to me, well worth it, and that's why I have it, so. I'm exhausted. I got a little meal prep done, didn't get everything done and ready for tomorrow, but that's okay because today's a life of balance, and it's my last day of life in balance. And tomorrow I get to go to extremes and do my best and work hard and grind and pretty much become someone that's very dedicated to a cut, and that's what I'll be doing. So I'm gonna finish this and enjoy my very last day of balance. This is also a great time to talk about reflection. I enjoyed this weekend with my family, and a lot of the progress I've had, there is no really end, really, there's no finish line for this. But one thing it's important to do is kind of look back and reflect kind of on where you were, how far you've come. And I haven't done that yet, but I will tomorrow, because tomorrow's day 1 of Xform, and it's when the suffering actually begins. It's when this becomes really hard, because I'm gonna be trying to maximize my calorie deficit, and I'll have plenty of time to talk about that in those episodes. So I really couldn't think of a better place to end 2 series than in this specific spot. This is where a lot of my success comes from, which is it's my kitchen. And it's where I've learned a lot of things in terms of to keep a calorie deficit, you know, learn a lot of things about my preferences and ways to just maximize that deficit and really kind of take control of my physique and caloric control in a sense. So Coach's Kitchen was never designed to be about recipes. It was about to just show you some of the things I do and some of the things that help me be successful. This is a protein ice cream. I like it. It's a little melted because of all the filming. Thanks for following along, really appreciate it. I really hope you got something from this. Hope you got some tips. Hope you started making the lifestyle changes that I've been talking about to newer heights, to newer places, and to just get that overall joy and happiness. So thanks for sticking along with me. I appreciate it. Till the next episode, which is gonna be really soon, which is the Xform.